We saved serious cash with our Progressive Home and Auto Bundle and used the money to buy a new boat.
Who's ready to water ski?
This is not a real testimonial. Sure, customers can save big money with Progressive, but not enough for a new boat. They'll probably spend it on rent or gas money or maybe one of those little plastic wading pools for the yard.
Ahoy there!
Is what the captain might say. On the toy boat. In your wading pool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Hajicek. And welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. How you doing this evening, Doug?
Good. How are you?
I am not complaining a bit. We're about a week out from the big Christmas holiday. Next Thursday will be Christmas Eve. My gosh, has this time gone quick? And we can say goodbye to 2020 in short order right after that. Thank the good Lord. Because I think 2021 will be much, much better.
But can I tattle on you, Joel?
Sure.
Would you mind? Okay, he is wearing a Halloween shirt. So I'm looking right now. So I just look, and all I see is this big white letters that say Halloween.
It's the movie Halloween, though.
I know
it's a movie T-shirt.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Everybody loves Halloween.
Yeah.
Any time of the year.
Any time of the year. Okay.
Any time of the year.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, but yes, you're right. I am definitely contrarian right now.
Yes.
I am wearing the Halloween shirt for the Christmas time. I don't have a Silent Night, Deadly Night shirt. That'd be a good horror film shirt to wear during Christmas.
That I could see.
Or Jason does, Christmas. Yeah, I need one of those too.
But every time I look at you, I just see Halloween.
Right now, yeah, you definitely do.
Yeah.
I'm in a Halloween state of mind. There you go.
Why?
I don't know. I just don't know. I'm a big fan of horror flicks. How about you, Doug?
Yeah, they're okay if they're wholesome. They don't, to me, not a lot of gore. Movies like Signs, or
more psychological is what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, you use your brain.
So no Texas Chainsaw Massacre for you?
No, not me. Nope.
Well, that's all right. I've been watching a show, talk about TV, and I just started watching it because, I don't know, I'm like 10 years too late for it. Is Game of Thrones. Did you ever watch that?
Oh, yeah, I watched the entire series.
Did you like it? Because I'm only into like episode 3, and everybody asked me, well, what rock were you living under? It was called the rock of not wanting to watch it. And I decided, because the pandemic is raging and we have this going on, that going on, gosh darn it, I'm going to watch some Game of Thrones. And I was pleasantly surprised.
It is good, but there's so many characters, so much going on, and it's of course extremely violent. Mm-hmm. If it would have been just me, I wouldn't have watched it. So I've got better things to do.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to spend time with people, and you just kind of, But I enjoyed
the other human beings in your life.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Did you like it as much as the series Deadwood?
No, Deadwood. I looked forward to watching.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones, never gave it a thought until it came on. Till I heard that theme music playing.
Because I really liked the Deadwood series.
Oh, it's amazing.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved the history. I'm a big history buff.
Yeah.
And some of their history wasn't necessarily accurate. but much of it was for
Yeah.
its time. It was definitely accurate. They, for Swearingen, for instance, he was nowhere near the figure in real Deadwood as he is in the show.
Yeah.
He was just kind of there. He had really no pull. He was just a bar owner in town, kind of really unnotable. But he did run a brothel, the same one that they described, stuff like that. I found that out on a trip to Deadwood, talking with them.
You're kind of a Deadwood expert.
I spent a lot of time out that way due to having Sturgis right there. And so I was able to kind of kick around Deadwood, stuff like that whole area.
Joel
And,
Sturgis.
growing up. Yeah.
Go to Sturgis.
Yep. It's always odd when I'm in Sturgis and I'll pay for something like with my debit card, and they'll read the debit card and they'll look at me and say, well, that's odd. And then I have to go through the story. Yes, I'm related to that Sturgis.
Well, what you should say is, I own the town.
I own the town. Don't you know? I own this joint.
Yeah.
Kiss the ring.
Anyhow, back to Deadwood. I want to just tell you first time I went to Deadwood, I get there and there's this deer running down the middle of the street, the middle of the afternoon, with a motorcycle and a lady on the back. And the guy looked at me and he goes, "Only in Deadwood." And it is
a magical city, my friend.
Yeah,
it
it was
really
like
is.
4 days before the rally. So Deadwood wasn't too busy at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I even got a room at the Holiday Inn or whatever. Yeah.
When I go there, I stay at Deadwood Dick's because it's the actual brothel from way back then.
Is that where Swearingen?
No, he was the gem.
Oh,
and that's there, but it's not a hotel.
That is weird though, because in a lot of those cases, they're all casinos now, right?
Yeah.
Hotel casinos, but they haven't really done anything with them.
Not a lot.
You can rub your arm on the well-worn wood post that some, killer could have.
Well, what I got a kick out of is last time I was in Deadwood, it's grown since the last time I was there. Every bar says this is where Wild Bill Hickok was shot. At least 6 or 8 of them, different ones.
No, they don't.
They do.
They don't.
They do.
Okay, me and you.
I must have read that 6 different times in the bars.
Well, there's no law. There's no law.
Evidently, but the Bullock was cool.
I've got a sign right here. That's where it says right here. Here
your house could be the place. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyhow.
I mean, that's as credible as anywhere else. But I did track down where he was actually shot, and some years before that, Deadwood had burned. And the bar that he was actually shot in was built over. And so to get to the actual murder site, you have to go under the town. Oh. And they still have it there. And you can go into that saloon.
See, you are an expert.
So, yeah, just asking around. Okay. Now we got some news to get to. What I find interesting, this first story, I find really interesting because it speaks to the power of light and how we use light maybe we do as well as spiders, to really tell us where we are in the world at that moment. Experiments at the International Space Station suggest spiders can weave normal-looking webs in space. They just need some light. That's it. That's all they're really going to need. Spiders are capable of building the typical webs in microgravity, which means next to no gravity, so long as they have access to light source, according to new research. In the absence of gravity, and hence the sense of up and down, because you would have thought that gravity would be the thing that would tell us up and down. I mean, just the way we're pulled on and everything else. Not so in spiders. It is in light, Doug. If they don't have light, they build they build just discombobulated webs. But if they have a light source, it's the perfect symmetrical webs that we're used to seeing. But if they don't have a light source, they go crazy.
What would happen if you put them in a what do they call it? A gravitron, where they spin you? They put you in a seat, buckle you in, and spin you?
You would have a spider probably flying around going, "Oh my God, I can't build a web here. What the hell?"
Pie?
Under normal gravity conditions, the spiders on Earth tend to build asymmetrical webs with the center or hub positioned towards the upper edge when resting and waiting their prey. Spiders sit in their hub and just sit there, basically chill and wait for the prey to come and then swoop down and feed. Because of this, scientists figure the spiders would be thrown off kilter when exposed to microgravity. Not so, Doug. They don't care about gravity because they can build the same web with no gravity. It's all about the light source.
Who would have thought?
So, I know it sounds kind of who cares, but really what that's showing is...
Here's what's weird about the article, because spiders seem to be able to build webs in the dark with gravity because they thrive in the dark. And trust me, when I say dark, I mean pitch dark.
Yeah.
They seem to do just fine. If there's a crack where other little bugs can get in, but yet it's pitch dark, they build webs. How do I know? Every time I stick my hand in my outside not my barbecue, but my fire pit. It's got a latch on it, and I put my hand in there. And, oh, God, every time I put my hand in there to turn the gas on, it's a big spider web in there.
Yeah, with spiders, I don't mind it. I don't mind spiders. I really don't. Because they serve an important purpose to, keep insects at bay.
Yep.
So do bats and stuff like that. They all have the reason why they're here.
Yep.
But when they introduced another spider in its vicinity with no light at all, they kind of ran into each other. Yeah. They weren't able to build webs quite as efficiently because they had no orientation where the other one was without the light.
Did you ever realize how smart a spider is? I mean, they act intelligent.
They do. They do. They really do.
Like if there's a spider on the ground, and he'd just be sneaking because he knows he's sneaking away. If you look at him, he'll just freeze.
They are nature's perfect 8-legged assassin.
Yeah, but they're not like an ant. You know, an ant's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't care if you're there. They could care less. They just go about their business. But a spider, no. He knows if you're looking at him.
They do. They do seem to show a real heightened awareness of intelligence.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Because just the way that they're building their webs and what they're after and the way that they avoid us.
They also show fear.
Really?
If you're, mean guy like me.
Yes, you're horribly mean, Doug.
And
yes, if
you need to dispatch one, they run. They panic.
Well, you're only like 4,000 times their size. Yeah, but I guess I'd run too.
Again, other animals don't.
No, they don't realize they're even in danger, most of them. Like an ant, you can crush those things all day. They have no idea of their impending doom. Not spiders. They know.
Have you crushed ants all day, Joe?
I have crushed ants. I have crushed ants with impunity.
I could picture it too.
Do not, yeah. But, that's with spiders. Now, Doug, I got to ask you, I'm assuming you own pets, right?
One.
What do you got?
Simon.
Let me guess. You're a cat person.
No, I'm not a cat person.
No.
No, I'm allergic to cats.
Okay, what do you have?
It's a Siamese cat.
So the man that's allergic to cats has a Siamese cat.
Correct.
That seems a little
It's inherited.
Counterintuitive.
It's inherited. Enough said.
No, gotcha.
But let me stop. The cat is extremely sweet. It really is. You wouldn't want a more well-behaved cat.
Yeah. I have an old cat here as well. He's got to be every bit of 10 or 11 years old. Starting to age out of the whole mousing thing. But he will soon become a chair cover over the next couple of years because he's getting slower and slower and slower. Then he'll just kind of live out his days in the lap of luxury.
So how old is your cat?
I would say at least place him 11 or 12 years old.
Okay, Frankie is almost 19 years old.
19 years old. Oh,
yeah.
My good Lord.
Yep, he's just showing it too.
That is an old cat.
Yeah. So in the last few days, I've had to bring him water while he's on his heating pad and carry him, and put it up to his lips, and because he goes through periods where he's hurting. And today he was doing good though.
Sounds like he has a touch of arthritis.
He's just getting old, just like all of us.
Yeah, just like all of us. That is so true. But would you live with a 7-foot-long crocodile for 39 years?
No.
No, man, in Hiroshima did just that. Some people wouldn't get anywhere near an adult crocodile for all the money in the world, but one Japanese family in Kur City, Hiroshima, has been living with one for almost 4 decades, Doug.
And?
Yeah, well, it's like a dog. This guy takes it everywhere.
So 40 years, this man is at a crocodile.
Nabumtsu. I'm trying not to destroy your name, sir. Marbosh. That's the best I can do. Murabayashi. There we go. Murabashi. There it is. Perfect. There it is. Bought this crocodile when it was just a wee little tot. Bought it for his son as a pet. And then 40 years later, it's still living with them. I guess it's so well behaved, he can take it out for walks and children pet him. The crocodile, that is.
It's interesting because they can go quick if they can really move quick if they want to.
I was going to say, don't they kind of exhibit that classic reptile brain?
Yeah.
I've never heard of them being tamed like a dog.
Size of a walnut. But there are people that have them that claim they're loving, trainable, they're amazing pets.
Well, according to this, that's what you're just saying. This crocodile spends his days roaming the house freely and chilling in his own bathtub.
And that's got to be
He loves going for walks, and his owner especially loves to show him off to people.
How long is it?
It is a 7-foot-long crocodile.
Well, that's not very big.
No, but I would imagine it could take a sizable chunk out of you.
Yeah, if it wanted to, it wouldn't be good. I used to go fishing along like Alligator Alley.
Really?
And I would stand pretty close to alligators because they're just sunning, and they seem pretty mellow. And this is before the internet. And then one day I did see a film on the internet of how quick they can go from resting to dragging you into the pond.
It is amazing how fast they are.
Oh my goodness. And that was the last time I'll do that.
I mean, even when they're filming them, they have a hard time capturing the movement. Yeah. I mean, seeing, because it's so fast. The movement is so fast that they have a hard time even on film pinpointing that burst motion.
Yeah.
Because it happened so fast.
Yep.
That happened to a gal in Florida here a couple years back that got too close to an alligator, and she became dinner. And I guess that happened in just a blink of an eye. So I would not live with a crocodile. Just saying. I would not. I'll stick to my black lab and my cat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, Joel.
I would do not want to become its dinner.
Probably trip over it.
I would. I would trip over it. I'd make it mad for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with the animal theme, tonight's all animals because tonight we have a great guest on tap. We have Joedy Cook on. He is one of the foremost experts on Dogman phenomena. You're going to want to hang around. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be having him on. He will blow your mind with the research he's putting out there. He also runs the North American Dogman Project.com. So if you want to take your time, if you're listening right now and you're at your computer, go to that website and follow along as we talk with him tonight. Because the evidence of this cryptid, the more on the violent side cryptid, because most of us hear about Bigfoot being kind of cuddly and nice and non-aggressive. Dogman seems to be on that other side of that coin. So you're going to want to stick around to hear all of that. Again, Joedy Cook will be joining us. You're not going to miss that. Not one bit. But getting back to the news at hand, we're going to be talking about the raccoon, the Christmas time raccoon. A Florida woman captures a video of chaos that ensues inside her home when her dog alerts her to a raccoon climbing her Christmas tree.
Christmas vacation.
Wow. Right? That's exactly what I thought of right away. When I read this story, I had to include it because it's that classic scene in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Squirrel! And everybody hits the deck. Aubrey Locabelli said she awoke to the sound of her dog growling about 4:15 in the a.m. And a brief investigation uncovered the reason for the canine's distress, why he was so angry. A raccoon had apparently entered the home through the dog door and was climbing the Christmas tree. Doug, I would go crazy.
I thought, okay, when you told me about this, I thought she had dragged it in the house when it was living in the tree.
That would have been more funny, right?
That's
if
what
she would have been sitting there having a eggnog.
So I
start hearing
dragged it in, set it up, decorated it, and there was a raccoon living in it.
That would have been funnier.
Yeah.
That would have been better. A video filmed inside the home shows the dog knocking over the tree in an attempt to reach the raccoon, sparking a chase through the house. The raccoon ran away for freedom, jumped on my chandelier, she said, where it swung there for, like, in her words, 30 minutes. Wow. The video shows Locabelli using a broom to shove the raccoon free from the chandelier. She said the raccoon ended up fleeing the house through the doggy door.
Thank goodness. That ended well.
That did, because now raccoons, they can be vicious little critters.
Oh, you're not joking.
They're pretty bad when they want to be.
I had one that came down my chimney. Was in the fireplace, but it was behind that kind of a wire screen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mess around. I called the police.
Well, I don't blame you.
And
what did the police do?
They split. They said, it's your problem.
It's your problem now, buddy.
Help either.
Wow. You know, when I was a kid, my dad was, God bless his soul, he liked to put me in harm's way once in a while. And we were building a new home at that point, and they were putting in some water lines, and overnight, while they were working on the water lines for under the house, a skunk decided it was going to take up residence under the home. And when that happened, my dad had the great idea of, hey, we're going to lure this creature out with a hot dog. And you're going to take the hot dog and throw it in the hole. So I did so, and the skunk came out. We waited and waited. The skunk comes out. He shoots at a 22. And Doug, I will tell you, when you kill a skunk, it is an ungodly release of crap or whatever, the spray, the scents they put out there that you will ever smell. Oh my, it was green in the air.
It's like shooting a hole in a balloon.
It was the worst experience of my life. Then later on, a law enforcement officer that I know real well, he says, you should have used the live trap.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had the problem.
I came home one time, Joel, and there was a raccoon doing circles in the yard. And you know what that means. In broad daylight.
What is that?
Middle of the afternoon.
Rabies.
Yep. So I called the local sheriff's department, and I said, you know, I've got a raccoon that's spinning, and I need to dispatch him. And I want permission because it's in a residential area. And they go, oh, yeah, go ahead and do it. And then they call back, said, no, an officer will come out. So the guy comes out, and he sees the spinning raccoon, and that guy was kind of a jerk, but he just loaded his 45 up, and he just, I don't know, he didn't even really say anything to me. He just started shooting it.
He just started popping off rounds at it?
Yeah, but this is kind of a horrible story, but he emptied a whole clip in it, and the thing was still coming at him. So he goes and gets another clip, puts it in, and emptied that one, and it kept coming at him. He emptied another clip and another clip and another clip until there was hardly anything left of this raccoon, but it kept coming at him. Finally, he goes and gets his crowbar out of his trunk, and he proceeded to dispatch it, what was left of it, with the crowbar. And he goes,
oh, my good Lord.
Then he was like all freaked out. I go, what's wrong? He goes, oh, man, that was the third one today like that.
The third one today like that? You know the classic line from Jaws, we should have brought a bigger boat. He should have brought a bigger gun. We got to run a break. We come back. We got Joedy Cook. We're going to be talking Dogman. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Untold Radio. Sorry about that. Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. And as promised before we went to break, we have Mr. Joedy Cook with us. Joedy is an author and a research into the Dogman phenomena, amongst other things such as Bigfoot, UFOs. He's kind of a jack of all trades, but cryptids is where...
Whatever you're funny, Peacock's got it exclusively. Bears beats The Office on Peacock. Stream every moment from Dunder Mifflin and explore bonus extras and exclusives. Plus, if you're looking for more classic hits, you can stream every episode of Parks and Recreation, 2.5 Men, and every season of SNL. In the mood for something brand new? Check out Peacock's original comedies, The Amber Ruffin Show, and Saved by the Bell. Whether you're craving a new binge or familiar fave, you can find tons of comedy hits on Peacock. Get started for free at peacocktv.com.
Where he hangs his hat in Dogman, there's no bigger and better researcher than Joedy Cook out there doing this, because Dogman is quite the enigma, isn't it?
It's something different, I can tell you that.
We're gonna get into that a little bit, but first, Joedy, give us a little background on who you are.
Well, I've been doing cryptid research for close to 30 years. Prior to that, I did UFO research for quite some time. Back in the 80s, we had when we had public access TV. Remember that? And we did a live TV show the first Wednesday of every month. And we had people call in, we had guests and so forth. And we started to get a lot of Bigfoot sightings and other cryptid sightings. And, I said, I think this might be interesting, might be something to look into. They're kind of breaking the monotony with, the UFO stuff, and just kind of fell into it, with the research. I found it a lot more interesting than UFO stuff.
Hmm.
So.
And why is that? I mean, UFOs are pretty interesting on their own, but what drew you to that field of research?
Well, the fact, like I said, we were getting so many reports that was coming into the live show about people seeing cryptids and seeing, Bigfoot stuff, either prior to a UFO sighting, after a UFO sighting, or somewhere within a location of a UFO sighting. Now, me personally, I don't believe there's a UFO Bigfoot connection. There's a lot of ufologists out there that truly believe that, and there's some Bigfoot, people out there that actually believe that. I just think it's coincidence. It goes to like one of those things, people who say they get abducted by aliens. So what is Bigfoot maybe got abducted to? And that's why they see them either prior or after a sighting. So it kind of gives, a little perspective of that part of the field. But I just can't grasp both of those together for some reason.
It makes sense. If they're taking an interest in us, why not them as well?
Exactly. We're a smarter species. Maybe they're able to make them as workers or something to that effect, because maybe they're not as smart, as intelligent as human, or easier to control. That's a possibility. But the fact that they're a primate, they're very close to humans, so that might have something to do with it, because if they're looking at our DNA and they're looking at our body structure, and you have a Bigfoot that is body structure, DNA is probably very close, they're going to have interest in that also. But that's a possibility. That's my view on connection there.
Very interesting. I think you're right. I really do. Because I've never been a big believer that that there was any direct connection between the Bigfoot and UFO. I kind of thought, like you said, it was more of a coincidence, or maybe, when people have talked about Bigfoot's been dropped off by the mothership, maybe they're witnessing them dropping them off after they've been probing them, just like they've been probing us.
Exactly, and that's the theory I come up with. I don't think Bigfoot is an alien. I mean, I've heard things that, Bigfoot, it was a prisoner from another planet that was dropped off here. It was another species of alien. It was a pet of the aliens. They were just letting off to go use the restroom or something, and he ran off type thing. I mean, you hear all kinds of weird things. But the whole point of it is, you don't, just because you have a UFO sighting and a Bigfoot sighting doesn't mean they're connected. My personal Bigfoot sighting that I had was on a military base that actually had a lot of UFO sightings and weird stuff happening with UFOs on that base. And the fact that there was a Bigfoot on that base that I saw, along with numerous other people who've seen it throughout the years, doesn't mean that they're connected. And that's so true. That's just my point. Yeah. So,
Doug, what do you think?
Don't know. I mean, we don't know anything. Think about how weird of an animal when people see these, which I do believe they do, because it's fueled every day. I mean, this phenomenon isn't new. It's not going to go away by just poo-pooing it. Literally military people are seeing these. We had a military sighting right up in Duluth. I don't know if you read that report, Joel.
Yes, I'm familiar with that report.
Yeah, and these people are not making this up. They're having something, but to take and say, well, it's this or that, to me, it's completely worthless doing any speculation as to what they are, because we don't know. To me, what is worthwhile is to take the data and just keep researching like Jody's been doing. And Joedy, you've been doing this for how long?
Almost 30, yeah. Well, with Dogman, I've been doing the Dogman research for about 10 years. But I've got like 30 years of research under my belt, dealing with Bigfoot, Dogman, other cryptids, and even UFO stuff. So I've been doing it for quite some time.
Well, when did the Dogman? I mean, the Dogman has been with our history forever.
It's been with history throughout the world, going all the way back to Greek mythology, Viking mythology, Egyptian mythology. It's always been there. And I was just reading an article probably about a month ago where on an Indian reservation, they found carvings on a stone mountainside that they believe the figures that were in there that describes were dogmen, were actually, because they're humans with dog heads, that was carved in this. So that's, the first time ever in Native American, culture that this particular creature was actually, noticed and actually put on, a side of a mountain. Now, when, the Native Americans, they see, when they see things, they interpret it to what they see. So if they see a dogman, they may interpret it as a wolf, depending on the tribe. Okay, some tribes sit there and look at it as a skinwalker, but when you look at other tribes, they may see it as a wolf, and then they interpret a wolf quite different. Now, there's one particular tribe that I ended up was doing some research on that had a mask of what they called, was the walking wolf. And the mask basically is just a full head mask and a snout going out. In Native American culture, you never see that. In Cherokee culture and masks and their carvings, you'll see that because most of the Cherokee masks all have a crooked nose. Okay, that indicates what they see. Now, their wild man of the woods, or the booger is what they would call it, the nose is flat. in those masks, so that's interpreted to what they see as a Bigfoot. Now, this one other particular tribe had this mask, and it's very unusual because the way they looked at wolves and did the carvings on masks or wolves are completely different, because this one was a complete face, had a snout going out, and had high pointed ears. That's what's kind of unique about this mask. So they were seeing something quite different than what they would see as a regular wolf, and did the carving of what that wolf was. This was something completely different. So you have all this stuff going in culture. You have all the way around the world that's been going for, thousands of years. But here locally in the States, it really didn't start popping up until around the 90s is when it really got really heavy. But it's always been here, because I have newspaper articles going all the way back to the 1800s.
Well, what was the southern legend in Louisiana? What was the name they called it?
The Lucaroo.
Right. And that goes way back.
That goes back to all the way to was it the Rogers Rangers when they were fighting the French down there. So that legend goes all the way back. They even talk about it there.
But what I'm getting at is that legend is very specific to what people are seeing today, correct?
Oh, very, very much, very much. And actually, I talked with a police officer, Louisiana police officer, that contacted us about his sighting. He was in the bayous, and he was going down a dirt road, and no lights whatsoever. Only lights was his headlights. So he's going down the road. So he sees this large animal in the middle of the road eating something. His first was a bear. Okay, they normally don't have bears in Louisiana, but they'll come from Texas sometime, or they'll come up from another state, and it's not uncommon to have a sighting. But in this particular area was a no-go. So he goes up to the animal, has his lights on it, and then he knows that it has a tail. The tail's moving like a dog. And then the head comes up, so he sees the back of the head, sees the high pointed ears. And he said it was like in a horror movie where this thing just stood up on both legs and was turning to look at him. And he described it as a werewolf. So it started to come towards his car. So at this time, he has his dash cam on. And the dash cam is recording this beast. So it's coming towards him. So he throws his car in reverse. It runs, gets on top of his car, and it starts hitting on the window. And it busts the window where it's trying to get in. So he's flying backwards. He throws on the brake, does like a 380 in order to throw the animal off the car. So he gets back to the station. He reports it to the desk sergeant or the shift sergeant. Shift sergeant sends him home. Okay. They have the copy of the dash cam. They have his vehicle and everything. He comes into work the next day. His car is completely redone. His sergeant has no idea what he was talking about. He said, "You didn't talk to me about anything last night. You just came in and did your shift and went home." And he goes, "No, we talked. I showed you the dash cam video." And he's like, "Well, we don't know nothing about a dash cam video. And if you keep talking crazy like this, we're going to have to send you to a psychiatrist to see if you're capable of being a police officer again with these crazy stories." So this is what happened with him. So he had physical evidence on camera of one of these creatures, and where it actually destroyed his car trying to get into his vehicle. And this is, like you said, this was the Lucaroo, and the way he described it, he said it was a werewolf. It was a werewolf, not wolf man.
Well, let's back up. Let's back up, Joedy. Why don't you tell our audience a physical description of what people are seeing?
Okay, there's two different types what people are seeing. One is what we call the canine, which looks very much like a wolf, but it's able to stand on two legs. Okay, very massive chest, thin waist, typical legs like a dog, arms more like a human, and the front paws are almost like human hands. So that's the canine. And then you have one which they call type 3, which is a little bit more bulkier. The legs are somewhat more human. The foot is somewhat more human, but it still has the characteristics of a canine with the snout, the high pointed ears, the muscular body, the arms, and so forth. But like I said, the only difference is just the leg structure. So these were the two most common sightings of Dogman. Now we're getting reports of one that looked like a hyena in the face, which is very unique because it's a very short snout.
Mm-hmm.
The ears are not that, pointed, but it has some type of a hyena look. So there's different breeds now that people are reporting of what, they are particular seeing. Now, land between the lakes is one of the biggest hotspots in the country. There is a story that's been going around for years about a family being massacred by a Dogman there. Okay. Now, I've talked to 6 different Kentucky police officers. 4 of them were Kentucky State Troopers, and the rest were regular local law enforcement that actually said they were there on the site when, they recovered the bodies.
Oh, they were actually investigating that site.
Yeah. Well, what happened when the incident happened?
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Whatever you're funny, Peacock's got it exclusively. Stream classic sitcoms like The Office, Parks and Recreation, and 2.5 Men. Plus, catch Peacock original comedies like AP Bio and Saved by the Bell. For all your exclusive comedy faves, go to peacocktv.com and get started.
Police were called. Okay, there was someone that was driving by and saw the one body laying out there, and the camp was in disarray. So they called the police. The police, 2 officers, local police officers, showed up on site. And then regular other law enforcement showed up. We know there were at least 3 different jurisdictions, coroners that were there. The FBI was on site because there was a child that was missing. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So the father was killed outside of the trailer. The mother and the son was killed inside. Okay, they found clothing of a little girl about 5 or 6 years old. So they knew there was another child. That's why the FBI was apparently on scene, because now you have a missing child. And they found the child allegedly in a tree about 40 yards away, half eaten. That was in clear view of where the site was. Okay, so this legend's been going on since 1982.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been investigating this since 1987. Okay, so I've talked to quite a few police officers. I've been down the land between the lakes a dozen times. I've had officers take me down there to show me the exact site. Every single officer that was there took me to the same exact site where it happened. So what's so unique about Land Between the Lakes is I did a show one night, and there was a young lady that was listening, and she contacted us, and she said, listen, my father worked for Kentucky Fish and Game. He's dying of stage 4 cancer. He's got about a month or 2, but he wants to confess what he saw before he dies. So we went down and we got it on tape. We got the interview on tape. This guy, back in 1979, worked for Kentucky Fish and Game. Okay, he was at LBL fishing. Okay, because it's some of the best fishing in Kentucky. So he's down at LBL fishing about 4:30 in the morning. Okay, so he fished to about 7:30. It was in October. Okay, so there was a lot of fog that was on the riverbanks. Okay, so he decides he's going to come out of the cove and he's going to go along the shoreline because he didn't want to get out into the large part of the water and maybe get hit. So he's going about 5 miles an hour, in his little boat. So he sees this campsite off to the right, or off to the left rather, and he sees the truck, he sees a tent, he sees some chairs and stuff that were sitting out there. So as he's going closer, he saw what he thought was a horse up on the side of the tent there, a little bit further off. And as he's getting closer, he's starting to see what this thing is, and it's not a horse. It ends up standing up on 2 legs, he said. He said it had a head like a hyena.
Wow.
The legs like a dog, a tail, and arms like a human. At that time, 2 people were coming out of the tent, a young couple. He's yelling at them, behind you, look over there, behind you. And they're looking at him, and he said they started to wave at me. They didn't know what the heck I was doing. He says, I'm 20 yards away from them. They knew what I was saying. Them. And they're hearing them, but they just, hey, how you doing type thing.
Yeah.
And he said at that time, this thing pounced those 2 people. And he sat there as he's going by watching this thing kill 2 innocent people. Literally ripping apart. He said, I can hear their screams in my, dreams at night.
Wow.
He said, it wakes me up. He said it did. He said it was horrifying. He said, I urinated on myself and I passed out in my boat. I woke up a couple hours later. I'm up against a tree that was in the water. And, he was saying that he didn't report it. He says that everybody at LPL knew there was something there. They weren't allowed to talk to it. They talk about it. If they talk about it, they'll get fired. And if they did see something, they were supposed to go to this special division to report it. And he said, you probably got fired afterwards. So everybody shut their mouth. He said, I never said anything. But he said, for about 2 weeks, I kept looking at the local newspapers to see if there was a bear attack or sudden death or something to that at LPL. And he said there was nothing in the newspaper. He would talk to some of his friends that were there saying, hey, have you heard anything about people getting hurt here or something like that? No one knew anything. So they basically covered this death up. And he gave us his deathbed confession about what he saw. And he said, he goes, I need to tell someone because I want to go to heaven. And I feel that, I committed a crime for not saying something, because he said there's 2 families out there right now that have no idea what happened to their family members. So
Joedy, go ahead, sir. I was just going to ask, where are these things coming from? I mean, you talk about it, and when you're talking about this family being massacred, my thought too is, where are they coming from? How are they coming to be? There's obviously interbreeding going on that would account for the different looks you're getting. I'm sure of that.
Right.
But the origins of this creature, I mean, is it natural? I mean, is it like a Bigfoot? What are we dealing with here?
Well, see, here's the thing. Our organization, when we get sightings, we break them down into 3 categories: flesh and blood, supernatural, and extraterrestrial. Believe it or not, we get a lot of Dogman reports that are dealing with extraterrestrials, and most of those are all by military people, and those are very unique stories. Actually, actually a few of them were from battlefield sightings in battlefield, in different countries. And so we don't know. See, that's still the biggest mystery. We don't know if this thing's supernatural, if it comes in and out of a portal, which we've had sightings of that, coming in and out of, tunnels in the ground, holes in the ground. So is that some type of inner earth theory type thing, where these Bigfoot, Dogman, Mothman, things to that effect are they living within Earth? Is there another type of civilization that's in the center of our Earth, and these are creatures that live there? We don't know. Because like you said, we do the amount of reports in, we got them broken up into 3 categories. And, they're filled up just the same. If you got 100, reports on flesh and blood, you got 101 reports on supernatural, and you got, 102 reports on extraterrestrials. I mean, that's just basically how it is. It's just, it's how the person interprets it. Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody's putting it in that category, can you help us out? I mean, why are they associating it with aliens? I mean, what would be their reasoning?
Well, here's the ones that deal with aliens, okay, is that we had U.S. and Canadian soldiers, and we had one from Belgium contact us that in Afghanistan, they would see these werewolves wearing some type of like an armor, body type armor, and they would see them in the field real quick. Boom. One of the Canadian soldiers told us that they were in Kandahar and they were in a ravine, and there was a big wall that was set off to their right, and then all of a sudden these children come running around the building screaming, and then a pack of dogs are running behind them. Well, they thought, these dogs are going to kill these kids, so they start shooting at the dogs, and then finally the dogs end up passing the children. So they thought, okay, there's something on the other side there. Maybe it's the Taliban, or the insurgents. And so they popped smoke over into that area. And they said just out of this smoke comes this large Anubis-looking creature. And that's the way they described it. They said it had like a pharaoh's loincloth on. It was no shirt. It had high pointed ears, a snout, and it came out of the smoke. And it was looking at them. And they said the first thing we did, we just fired on it. We were scared as hell. We fired on it. And it just, boom, it was gone.
I'm assuming they're going to have a Ma Deuce with them rifle, because that's pretty standard on top of a Humvee at that point.
They were in a ravine. So the largest weapon they had was a saw. So they were all, regular
308 caliber saw.
Yeah. Saw, and one had a 203 grenade launcher. So that's what they used to pop the smoke with. But he said, this is what they described this particular creature looking like. Another one was from a U.S. soldier, Kandahar Valley again. There was a platoon that was missing. So they went out looking for it. They eventually finding the platoon. It's just they got cut off. Their battery and their Prick 77, I think it was, died or something to that effect. Because they had an old Prick 77. Army doesn't really use those anymore. They have a new radio that they use, but this particular case, why they had a Prick 77, because that's something they used in Vietnam. So anyhow, they end up finding the unit after this particular incident. So they're in the Kandahar Valley. They're going up into the mountains. So the team started breaking off because they were hearing something. So one soldier and another guy ended up going up to one area. They're going up on the side of the mountain. The one stayed down. He went up because he heard screaming. So he went up top of the mountain. So he's looking over. Once he's on top, he goes, as God is my witness, there was 2 werewolves wearing body armor that looked like the Halo game. And this is his description. He said there was 2 dead insurgents. One was alive. And he said that this one had like a sword that looked like a pharaoh sword, which is the sickle style that you saw on the Scorpion King. He said that's what it kind of looked like, and he said it just literally chopped this guy in 2 from the shoulder going down.
Oh my good Lord.
Okay. So he said that they started sniffing in the air like they might have picked his scent up. And then he said they were standing next to each other, and the one took his back of his hand and tapped the other one's backhand, like, let's go. And they went around a rock, and he said this blue light pops on. and goes out real quick, and they're gone.
Jeez,
he said like a portal opened up. So we're getting stories like this. The best one that we got was I talked with a guy. He was former United States Special Forces, and this guy, I mean, he was very squared away, backed up everything, being in the military, everything like this. Now, his job now was working for the federal government as a contract employee, that their job is to go out and recover down UFOs. That's what they do. He said the military doesn't do it. It's all prior military, Navy SEALs, combat air controllers, special forces. We're contract security force. We have access to every type of military equipment there is. He said, in the early 1970s, and I'll get back to this part here because this is interesting, the way why the 70s is involved with this. He said in early 70s, we got in contact with an alien species that was canine, highly aggressive. Okay. Very, very aggressive. They were what they considered as a predator, apex predator. So we knew we were in contact with them, but finally we were able to get bodies alive. Okay, so they were so dangerous, they kept them in a facility in South America and Honduras. So they were able to get loose from that facility in Honduras. They killed a lot of military personnel that were there. His job was to go down with his team and take care of the situation. And he said we had special weapons because these things were hard to kill. So they ended up killing them, but he said they made this god-awful sound when you killed them, this scream. He said they're highly intelligent, but they had zero common sense. So meaning like if you're shooting at them and if there's a barricade right there, they wouldn't run behind a barricade. They weren't smart enough to do that for some particular reason. They just didn't have common sense, but they're highly intelligent. So, but one thing he said was they had...
Whatever you're funny, Peacock's got it exclusively. Stream classic sitcoms like The Office, Parks and Recreation, and 2.5 Men. Plus, catch Peacock original comedies like AP Bio and Saved by the Bell. For all your exclusive comedy faves, go to peacocktv.com and get started.
A sword that they called the Anubis sword, which was the sickle handle type sword. And this is kind of interesting because, that's the second time we got a report about a alien species of canine with that type of sword. Now, to go back to the 70s being first in contact with these particular creatures, you look at Star Wars that came out, in 78 or 79? Okay, George Lucas, who was a Mason, okay, had a lot of Mason friends that worked for NASA, and majority of all the people who ran NASA were Masons. Okay, even the Germans that were there were Masons. So he was able to see things that normal people with classified, couldn't see.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So if you... give you one example. Richard Hoagland wrote this book called Dark Mission. Highly suggest everybody to read this book. Now, in Richard Hoagland's book, he talks about the Masons, running NASA. And there's one particular photo in there that was taken by Apollo 13 of a crash in a crater in the moon. And there was remains of what they call a robot. And the head, they have a color picture of this head. NASA actually released this photograph under the Freedom of Information Act. It's identical to CP3O's mask. If you Google image, Richard Hoagland's Dark Mission, you'll see it. It's
that's crazy. Joedy, hate to cut you off, but we got to run a break because they're a little over at the top of the hour break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. More Joedy Cook right after this. Don't...
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
Oh, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
But what do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrent Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrent Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
And welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. Tonight's guest is Joedy Cook, author and Dogman researcher, and he's taking us down a wild path already this first half of the interview. Great stuff, interesting stuff. Dogman is out there, Joedy. It's crazy, and it can be scary. Now, are all the encounters with Dogman that you're aware about, are they violent? Has there ever been one where it was not a violent end, or at least a sign of aggression?
Most of them that people have seen are by passing. Either they're driving in their car or something to that effect. Most of the encounters that are reported to us are that type of a visual, sighting. Then you have the ones that where it actually is shown some type of aggression. Then you have some that where, it just tried to get into your house, or try to get into their car. One particular case, there was a woman where her and her friend saw one. They were running. They got back in their car, and they said this thing actually was able to get the handle of the car almost open. So they knew they were problem solvers, so they knew how to, try to get it open. So you have those type of sightings, encounters that are coming in. But the majority of them, like I said, is just by chance that they saw it at a distance. But you're dealing with an apex predator, because the amount of some of this stuff that were coming in, these things are aggressive. We've got people that are sending us photographs of, horses, their cows, their sheep, things to that effect, that, where these things are killing them, not eating them, but killing them, letting the people know that, hey, I'm here.
So they're not using them as a food source, they're killing them as a message.
Right. One particular case here in Ohio, there was a guy that raised German Shepherds up in the Akron area. Okay, so he had 18 German Shepherds that he was raising. 8 of them were killed by a Dogman. And how it came about was that he's single father, has a young daughter, has a lot of property. That's where he keeps his dogs out there that he sells. He was out there with his daughter just walking the woods. His daughter saw it first. He saw it. He said this thing was just standing there looking at him. He said he described it as a werewolf. They end up, going back to the house really quick. They were probably about a quarter of a mile away from their home. They were that far into the woods. And a couple of days later, one of his dogs is dead. The neck is something just bit at the back of the neck. A couple of days later, 3 more dogs are dead. Just literally just ripped apart. Okay, so he knows that other dogs aren't doing it because whatever it is, it's getting into the kennel and killing the dog in the kennel.
Gotcha.
So he had 8 of them that was killed. So we have photographs of the dogs. We have x-rays from the vet showing the damage on the dog. The vet said, I have no idea. I can't tell you what type of animal this is. I've never seen bite marks like this before. It's definitely canine, but it's different. So yeah, we get that kind of stuff all the time. Where like I said, people's horses are being attacked, their dogs, just everything, and they're not killing them. They're just are eating them rather. They're just killing them. Now here in Ohio, it's very a lot of Dogman stuff. In 1972, we had a case called the Defiance, Ohio werewolf that made national news. Okay, so for a week, this thing was harassing the people in the town. The police knew about it. So from August 2nd to August 10th, all these newspapers are going about the subject. And then now the police are saying, oh, this thing's wearing clothes. So to kind of keep the public calmed down. But they know that's not what happened. This thing was a werewolf, and they describe it as a werewolf. They describe it at 8 feet, a snout, high pointed ears, looked like a dog, but it was walking on 2 legs. The first night that this stuff happened, it attacked 3 railroad workers in the railroad yard there in Defiance, Ohio.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting, very interesting case, made worldwide news.
What's the reason for the attacks, though? I mean, I know Doug's got a ton of questions, but that just kind of popped in my head. I mean, these are innocent people. What would prompt such a response?
I think what this thing does is it attacks to let you know it's there. If it was going to kill you, it's going to kill you because it's territorial. It's going to kill you because it's an apex predator. Mm-hmm. But I think majority of the time when you have attacks on livestock and your animals, it's sending a message. If it's not eating it, it's sending a message.
Gotcha.
Okay. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So another case here in Ohio is a Germantown werewolf that has been going on since the 1970s. See, Ohio is all farmland, dairy, and pigs. So majority of the state is farmland, a lot of corn growing here. This particular town, Germantown, in the 70s, they started building houses going into the woods, like a street. They did a street called Butter Street. It was like one of the first ones, and they put all these houses in it. It goes deep into the woods. So the people that lived there started seeing this werewolf. And the woods there was coming around the house. It was digging in the garbage. It was taking the pets and so forth. So they called it the Butter Street Monster. But now it's called the Germantown Werewolf. So it goes back that far. On my investigations, I found a cow, literally a cow that was taken from a corral, that was taking from there, had jumped down into a 5-foot ravine, go across the river, which was very, the river maybe came up to, your waist, and go back up another 5 feet. And that's where they killed it, because there's no way this cow was able to do it, to get over there, other than being carried over there. And in Ohio, there's no predators in the state of Ohio that could do something like that. So that has happened twice in this area. In this particular area. It just, they had a Boy Scout camp area down there. They literally just closed up for no reason at all. Jefferson Township Police Department, in this one particular area on Anthony Road, is where all the sightings are taking place. No lights on that road whatsoever. Okay, it's just one of these roads that you use to get from point A to point B a little bit faster. Okay, all of a sudden, Jefferson Township Police, 6-people department, puts this facility in the middle of the road, or in the middle of the field there. They have cameras all over the place. They got money from somebody because, I mean, it's all high tech down there. So the government gave them money to do this. So now, they got it where they can block the road off at each end with these big yellow barriers that close up. And why would they do that? For what reason would they do that other than they know what is going on there?
It's weird. Never has there ever been a mystery with so many witnesses but so little evidence. We have no film. We have.
Okay, I'm sorry. There must be a delay there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I want to go through to try to educate the audience a bit. There really is no evidence. We don't have any DNA. We don't have hair. We don't have any good film. There may be some poor ones out there, but I've never seen anything good. But the thing is fueled. I personally have talked to a number of witnesses in the last month myself. And I'm just amazed at how the thing is just fueled and fueled and fueled, yet it's so bizarre. This does not seem like an animal that could live or evolved, like an ape. At least Bigfoot kind of makes sense, in the evolution scale. We have apes that could have crossed the land bridge. There was nothing like this that could have crossed any land bridge or, come from South America or anywhere. So my question is, let's focus on all of the interesting data that we do know, just based on reports of where the sightings happen. How many reports a year do you get, Joedy?
We get an average, let's see. Let me get my math here. We get anywhere from 30 to 45, depending on the month. So, times that by 12. So, a couple hundred a year. And we have these graphs that we did where they're all broken down, and they're on the site. You can see them, where it's broken down from the, autumn, fall, going into winter and spring, the amount of sightings, actually broken down time-wise of what sightings take place, by sightings, by civilians, military, and law enforcement. So we have all that stuff broke down, so you're able to see it. So but each year it varies, depending on, if it's a hot summer or a cold summer, depending on, very cold winter or a mild winter.
What about northern states? Do we get reports in the wintertime?
Oh, yeah.
In January?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Illinois are some of the best states that you get winter sightings.
Really?
Of these things.
Winter.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Now, I want to get back with you on something. We found hair samples. Okay. Some really nice hair samples. There was a sighting that took place in Kentucky, not too far from LBL, about an hour away from LBL. This one little small community there where, was seeing what they describe as a werewolf and, in the woods there. So they end up finding a deer that was hit by a car, and they end up putting it in one location. And within, I think they said 7 minutes, this thing was gone. It was, whatever it took, it came in and got it. By the time that they set it to that location, to get back up to the top of the hill where they could see it, it was already gone. So something moved in that quick and picked up an 80-pound deer and moved with it. Very stealth. Okay, so we were down there, and there was a barbed wire fence that was like breaking up all this property. So we found all this hair and even blood that was on this barbed wire fence where something was going off. Now deers were jumping over it, so we found deer hair on there. So this hair I gave to the crew that this show I just filmed for. So they, excuse me, they sent it off to one lab. The one lab came back as an unknown species of canine. They said they've never seen this type of canine hair before. They know it's canine because that's what the DNA came back of. But it's nothing that they, of any type of dog.
What's different about it? What's different about it, Joedy?
Well, the length of the hair, the course of the hair, it has DNA that shows it's canine, but the DNA canine. I'm trying to think how the way they explained it. They know it's canine, but there's something within the DNA that didn't match up to what a normal canine would be. So where you're able to tell the species of the dog, the breed of the dog, rather, if it's
so there was some DNA data that didn't.
Yeah, there was some DNA data. So what they wanted to do,
it drops to the bottom. Well, the DNA, when it doesn't match anything, it literally drops to the bottom.
Right.
And then if they don't have anything to compare, the DNA that drops to the bottom.
Right, it's
kind of a dead end.
Yeah, it's still a dead end. But if they haven't, but you have to understand every DNA is in the data bank. Every species of animal is in this data bank. Okay, that they use. And if they have hair, and it doesn't match up to anything that's in that data bank or any type of human or primate. Okay, so we have hair of a species that we know, or that they know is some type of canine, okay, but they can't determine what it is. So
right, that's what I was saying.
Right,
it drops to the bottom. The part that doesn't match anything drops.
Yeah.
So, but hold on, Joedy. They can't do anything with that. You realize it's a dead end at that point.
Right.
Data drops to the bottom. If there's no comparatives, they just shrug their shoulders.
Exactly.
So you very well might have something really cool there.
Yeah. So what they're doing, they're sending it to a second lab.
Well, it won't help unless they can get it to match.
Yeah.
All they can do at this point is debunk it.
Right.
If they get it to match a St. Bernard or a Doberman or whatever, it'll just go, they'll just say, well, it's canon. But the weird thing with DNA is if it doesn't match, they don't get all excited. They just go ahead and say, well, it doesn't match. That's the end of it, which always bothers me with even Bigfoot hair. It's going to be very frustrating. But my point is there's data you guys are gathering where the sightings are happening, time of year.
Right.
I'm surprised to hear they're happening in the winter. I hadn't heard of any, but are there any cases where people claim these things are on their property regularly and they've been there generations and, and they're terrorizing their homestead? They come back every year in May and then they disappear. Did you have any situations like that?
Yeah, there's one that we're talking with. I've been talking back and forth with this one gentleman that this property that his family lives on goes all the way back to the Civil War. Okay, so they have what they're saying is a den, and they know that they're in this den in this part of the property. Okay, so they don't go in there because they were always told you don't go in there, because if you go in there, they're going to come to us. So you stay away. So throughout the years, you always had one person in the family that didn't want to listen, and this guy was one of them, where he actually would go to the den, and activities happen at his house. something's banging on the window, something's scratching on the door, something's trying to get in through the cellar door, because the house is an old plantation house. So they can hear whatever is out there walking, on the porch. They hear it actually getting up and on the roof. These things climbing. There's claw marks all around, on the side of the house, he's saying. So they know this is something that's been happening on their property for years. They've seen them. They've seen the pups. They've seen them with the pups at a distance. But he said it was just one of these things where I always told, if you bother them, they're going to come bother us. Just stay away. So it got to the point where the family ended up building like a ravine, a very deep, wide ravine that kind of separated that part of the property from theirs to keep people from going over there. He wasn't worrying about these things were able to get over, but it kind of prevented, the family members from going over there. So ever since they put the ravine in, he said they haven't had any issues because, no one wanted to try to go over the ravine, because if you got stuck in the ravine, you're stuck in there because they dug it far enough down, that, once you're in it, you're going to have to scream for help. And if they come and get you before we do, that's your problem because you shouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of begs the question, Joedy. You got people like this that know they're there and see them on a regular basis. Why not snap a picture?
Well,
why not bring some evidence to bear?
You know what? I sit there and this is not the only case we had like that. We talked to people that actually said that they were able to even touch the pups. They were able to get contact, but they watched them grow up. And, it's like, okay, well, why didn't you snap a picture, pull your phone out, click real quick? It just, you're probably not going to know what you're doing. But their thing is, well, if I took a picture, if it got out there, then people like you are going to want to come and see it.
But then they'd be free of these creatures and their property. See, it would be a win-win for them.
Right, but you have some of them that where they don't bother them. They're not afraid of them because they haven't done anything to make them feel fear of it. Because obviously, if someone, people are saying that they're able to play with their pups, or they, the pups were coming up to the house but staying at a distance, that kind of thing, I don't know. We get all kinds of stuff that deals with, people have been dealing with these things at, generation in their families.
Sure.
Or they go.
Doesn't that frustrate you, Joedy? You're crazy.
I'm telling you, we're talking with one guy right now that he swears, that they come to his house. He finds them in the barn where they're sleeping in the barn. He's, going in there and they're there. They see each other and they leave. It leaves or something to that, and or may have his, pups with it or something like that. But it's never made any aggressive mood. And it's like, dude, put cameras up, put trail cameras up, so you can get a good picture. You're not putting it in danger. But it all goes back to this thing where either they're feeding you a line of bull, or they just don't want to deal with the aggravation of all these people coming on their property, possibly hurting this thing, and then they have to get to deal with it afterwards, because they may come back on them. So you just don't know. They're more afraid of the federal government, dealing with this thing, because the federal government has a big interest in it. I'm telling you, because, our website provider contacted me and said, look, I don't know if you're in trouble or what, but we have to find out, why are all these government agencies watching your site?
They're watching the North American Dogman Project site.
Yeah, they're coming on our website. Yeah, and he so we get a monthly report, and it shows everybody that's been on our site. I'm not talking about somebody sitting in their home and their IP address, I'm talking about if it's a government agency or if it's a business or something big out there, we're able to pick it up. So we've had the CIA, the NSA, Department of the Army, Department of Defense, the DEA, a slew of other government agencies watching our site, not just one time, where they came on several of our sites. And
although it could be unofficial business, it could be just employees.
It could have been employees, but I did a lecture right before COVID hit. Okay, at the beginning of the year, and the NSA actually showed up at that lecture, and they let me know they were there. They showed me that they were NSA, and they were even there asking questions about the lecture. And when I was talking with them, actually, I'm like, dude, am I in trouble? And he's like, no, this is what we do. We collect information. That's what the NSA does. We're information collectors. We store. He says, everything that's on your site, we've got. Okay. Mm-hmm. Every email that comes into your site, we've got. Okay. But he did say this. He said, don't be surprised if one day where the government or a government agency contacts you for advice on the subject.
Okay. So Joedy, I mean, you've done Bigfoot research. Generally, Bigfoots are seen in very, very certain geographic areas. Mm-hmm. Woods, water, hills.
Correct.
Not seen in cities. But is there a similar pattern to Dogman sightings where they need to be near water, mountains, woods, or is there some other geographic feature?
Well, here's the thing. All animals need some type of food source and a water source. So that's where they're going to stay close to. Okay. Animals normally don't leave their environment unless, you had something that changed the environment. Earthquake, fire, going in, tearing down the woods to build homes, things like that. That's when animals normally leave. Now, same thing with humans. Okay. Most humans live within a mile of where they were born. Okay. Mm-hmm. They normally don't leave the area unless the environment changed. They lost a job. They got transferred to a job. They got married, went into the military. But normal human beings, we all stay within a mile or a few miles of where we live. So it'd be the same thing with them. Now, Dogman's a little bit different. Okay, they're in all the environments Bigfoot's in, but they are known to go into populated areas. Now, Germantown, for an example, we've had plenty of reports where this thing came.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The name your price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Are you a gig worker or self-employed? Womply has helped over 100,000 small businesses get a PPP loan. You may qualify for up to $41,000 in 100% forgivable loans. The program ends soon and funds are limited. Apply now at womply.com/apply. That's WOMPLY.com/apply.
And to downtown Germantown, we talked to 4 women that were in a beauty salon that were just on a Saturday afternoon. They saw a
minding their own business,
getting their hair done, gossiping. There in the front window, there's this large dog standing there looking.
You don't see that every day.
No, and they thought it was just a dog, a big German Shepherd, standing up against the window. And they noticed that, well, the hands aren't against the window, but the snout was up against the window looking in. And this is on a Saturday afternoon. And it just walked off. Okay, we had a city council member there that saw it, daytime sighting. A police officer driving down the road there seen one. where it's, so that's the kind of difference between Bigfoot and this particular, creature, is that this thing has no fear. Okay. It's going to go where it's going to go because it's an apex predator. Bigfoot, he's a docile animal. Okay. He doesn't want the contact. He's not going to put himself in a situation where he can get hurt. He knows, he's smart enough to know that men have guns and guns hurt. Okay. They know this. That's why they don't go into towns during the day and things to that effect. Okay. Now, this one particular case that we have in Akron, Ohio, again, very heavy spot up there, where they know that these dogmen that are in this metro park comes out of the park at night and goes up to the condominiums, and they go through the dumpsters. The people seen them. Okay, the rangers seen them, but it's no big deal because it's something that everybody knows about.
It would be a huge deal to me, Joedy. I would be wanting to capture these things,
right,
and get them out of the city. I mean, if I were an official.
Well, here's the thing. We talked to the Metro Park District, and they sat there and said, "Look, we know there's something going on here, but we don't talk about it because it hasn't hurt anybody yet." And see, that's the thing. They're not going to do anything until it actually hurts somebody. And then they're going to cover up from there anyhow. Then they'll take care of the situation. Well, we sat there and said, look, let us go into the park one night. You can have a couple rangers with us for our protection. Let's see what's there. Okay? They were all for it. 24 hours beforehand, they canceled. They said, it's over. We're not dealing with it. Don't come up here. So you run into that type of situation all the time, where you have somebody that wants to work with you, and then boom, it's all done.
What's Joedy? Don't want to interrupt you, but what's with the constant cornfields mentioned in sightings over and over?
All over. And it's
just weird.
It's in northern states. Okay, it's in states that grow corn. Okay, that which is mostly northern states, going all the way to Illinois, a little bit past that, going down to Kentucky. I think these things travel through the cornfields in order to keep themselves hidden. Two, it's a food source for deer, raccoons, and other critters. So, in the process, it's looking for food, and another way, it's hiding so where it's able to travel. We talked to one woman up in Germantown, again, a lot of cornfields and stuff. So she has, where her house sits, there's an abandoned house next to hers. There's another house that sits catty corner, and there's a huge cornfield. So she's sitting there with her husband. The kids go into the house. The husband goes in to get the kids ready for bed. She's picking up all the kids' toys. She said this werewolf walks out of the cornfield, stops, kind of looks, just walks right across the road into the yard where the abandoned house is. Well, at that time, here comes someone coming down the road. They see it, and they just hauled. I mean, they just literally hauled butt. Okay, so right behind this house is a park. So it basically went into this park. Now, right there next to the park is a church, and there's this bulletin board with all these pictures of missing animals. Right there.
Gee.
So, yeah. So it's really unique case that these people are always seeing these things come out of the cornfields, and like I said, I think that's what it does. It's either looking for food or it's trying to hide when it's travel. And these are all daytime sightings, and that's what's unique about them. They're not just nighttime sightings; they're daytime sightings. That's taking place with people.
A couple quick questions before we're out of time, because we've got a few minutes left. Number one, is there interaction between Dogman and Bigfoot that you're aware of? And when it does happen, what is that interaction like?
Oh, yeah. We have quite a few reports dealing with both of them. In Utah, there's this, we interviewed a bunch of people there. this small community. There's like, I think 6 or 7 houses, but they're kind of spread out because they're all like farms. So everybody there has horses. So they know there's a Bigfoot area because they've seen it. They've heard it at night scream, but it never bothered any of the animals, never bothered any of the homes or anything to that effect, any of the, pets. So then pets start coming up missing. Then they're finding large canine tracks. Then you have a horse that was attacked and killed. And then someone else's horse where you can see where it was trying to get it up from the back where it's ripping, the back part of the legs. So, and we got pictures of these horses, and you can see where something tried to bite, on the back of one of the legs. So then they see something that looks like a large wolf where it's going around the corrals. We got a couple drawings where people have said, for this thing kind of like, one of them was they said it was crawling like an army man on the ground, this large wolf, by going by where one of the horse corrals was. When it got close enough, they said that the security light pops on. So they saw it. It went flat on the ground, like it just played dead. So this girl's watching it from her back window, and then when the light went off, then the thing moved again. Okay, so one night, they said it was about 8:30. It was just starting to get dark. It was in the summertime. They hear all this screaming. They knew the one scream was a Bigfoot. The other scream, they just did not know what that was. They figured it was this werewolf that they were seeing in the neighborhood. And then all of a sudden, they don't see the dog or the Bigfoot anymore. And now this Dogman is killing deers and throwing deers in the people's yards as a sign, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
So your assumption, I'm gonna go a limb. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it probably dispatched the Bigfoot.
It either killed the Bigfoot or it threw the Bigfoot out of the area. And that's not the only case that we've had where, they have had Bigfoot and Dogman encounters with each other. And it always seems that, the Dogman wins in these particular cases.
Yeah. Nasty critter. I won't want to run into it.
What's the average height reported, Joedy?
Of a Dogman?
Yep.
Anywhere between 6 and 7 feet. We've had 1 or 2 reports where it was about 8 feet, maybe 9 feet. But like I said, the majority of them is right around human size, a typical man, maybe a little bit bigger.
And they're reported to have broad shoulders, correct?
Yeah, broad shoulders, massive chest, very thin waist, very thin legs, very thin arms. But they've always described that the chest was just completely massive. And what I think that is that the reason why their chest is massive is that their sternum, that's in the center of their chest, is very thick and very wide. So it's able to protect the heart, protect other organs, on this particular creature. Because we've talked to quite a few people, and even one of our own researchers, from our team actually shot one at point blank in the chest with a .357 Magnum, because his particular encounter is a lot like other people, where he was able to see one, and it let him know it was there, while another one was trying to flank him from the side. And that's when he shot, was the one that was trying to flank him from the side, because it was that close to him. He said, it was like a velociraptor, how velociraptors are. They let you see one while the other one comes around and kill.
The team hunt is what you're saying. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry about that, Doug.
Well, no, there's that darn delay. There seems to be one characteristic that's really weird with Dogmen. And that's their kind of inverted dog leg. Mm-hmm. That's extremely distinct. Can you kind of describe the leg? The leg is very similar like a dog, okay? Where
your typical dog back leg. But here's when people are seeing them, when they go from all fours on the two legs, people are hearing like a double popping sound. Like there's another joint that it pops into in order to stand up. And then when it goes back down, it pops. They hear a popping sound, so it might go into a separate joint.
Yeah.
This is what people are reporting when they actually see these things, is this popping sound when it moves, when it goes from, being a bipedal up to or from a quadruped up to a bipedal. So it's kind of interesting, but they always describe the legs like a typical wolf or German shepherd, where, the short paw, where the ankle, of the animal goes back, and it has a shorter, top thigh compared to the lower part of the leg.
Yeah. So most people, when they hear Dogman, they're just totally, eye rolling, blah, blah, blah. They have no idea there's so many reports. And the reports are weird. I mean, you admit they're weird.
Definitely.
But just because something's weird, does it mean you should ignore it? And I certainly, you made a big decision in your life to just kind of devote your life to this. And I commend you for that, because you probably have to put up with more eye rolling than a Bigfoot researcher even would. Correct?
Oh yeah. I mean,
more ridicule.
We get. Oh, I'm not kidding. But the funny thing about it, you might get laughed at in a group of people, okay? But when you're alone with them, they're going to tell you about their sighting. They're going to tell you about their father's sighting or something like that. But they're not going to say it to you in front. It was like that, but now it's not. It's people are very open talking about their sightings, because it's something that affected them that much that they want to tell you about it. And it goes back to this whole thing. Okay, everybody on Earth, okay, has had some type of paranormal experience, or they know somebody that has some type of paranormal experience. So people are very open about it. When I say paranormal, that's where the cryptid stuff's in there too, ghosts, UFOs, and so forth. So everybody has had something affect them that dealt with that subject in their life. Now it's more open now than it was 10 years ago and even 20 years ago, because you were looked at as a nutcase when it came to this subject. But the amount of sightings that's coming in from Bigfoot stuff, from other cryptids, Mothman, reptilians and things like that, people are open about it now. I mean, there are just so many groups on Facebook. It's unbelievable, with the amount of groups you have there. People are talking about this subject every day. Obviously people are not afraid to go on camera on TV shows talking about their sightings, and people take it very serious.
What's there to worry about, Joedy?
Is there one place that a person can go to get up to speed and just listen to Dogman sightings? Is there a podcast?
Yeah, there's quite a few podcasts out there. Obviously, Dogman Encounters is one of the most popular, ones that are out there. Go on Google and you can type in, or not Google, but YouTube, and you can type in Dogman stories, and literally hundreds of them will come up that will talk to you. Dogman Narratives is a really good one, because
me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
The guy actually does animation, really good animation with the story. So you're actually hearing the story and you're actually seeing what the witness saw. So there's quite a few out there that you can go to.
Well, what's to worry about, Joedy? I mean, you got a super predator that's seemingly bulletproof that would probably have no trouble killing people, and what's to stop him from taking over? I mean, you know, really.
Well, the thing of it is, you know, I don't think there's a very large population of them. Okay. Compared to 10 years ago, compared to 20 years ago, you know, now today, I think there's a lot more of them than they were 10, 20, 30 years ago. But still, when you look at it as a whole worldwide, you know, yeah, it's a large population. But here in the United States, the sightings are all taking place in like pockets. Okay. You have the Northeast, which includes Kentucky and Ohio, all the way up to Minnesota, going up to the Pine Barrens in New York. That's one of the largest pockets of sightings of Dogman. Then you go a little bit further south, and you have Texas, Louisiana, and Alabama, in Florida. Then you have that pocket. And now we're getting stuff from California, which 10 years ago you never got. Then, you know, the rest of the Pacific Northwest, then you got New Mexico, Utah, those areas. You got tons of stuff coming out of there now. So
they stay on the, oh, sorry, Joedy, but are they staying on the Rocky Mountains? Are they staying away from grizzly bear territory? I mean, you know, stuff like that. Is there a reason why it's these areas and not those areas? Is there something keeping them out?
None whatsoever. I talked with a veterinarian from the U.S. Forestry Service. Okay. And she told me in total confidence, she says, listen, we're finding bears, grizzly bears, and black bears that were being dug up during hibernation and killed. He said, or she said rather, that whatever this thing is was able to squeeze and literally break the back spine of a grizzly bear.
Jeez.
So they have no idea what's doing this. Okay, they're finding this going on. They said, you know, black bears are real common, or grizzly bears are real common to dig up black bear dens and eat the black bear. They said that's very common, but it's not eating the bears. It's killing them, but it's killing them by either snapping the spine or the neck. Okay, it's not ripping the body apart. So it's either a Bigfoot doing it, or it's a Dogman. I can't see it's a Bigfoot because I don't think Bigfoot. I hate these movies about Bigfoot being this bloodthirsty monster because he's not. Okay, but I don't see Bigfoot going out literally killing something because he finds it to be a threat. Okay, you have to understand, he's the king of the woods. He's the dominant species out there. He's not afraid of anything, so he has no reason to go and kill bears. A Dogman would, because look, it's digging up the den. Okay, so so they're like, we have no idea. We have no idea what's doing this. They said bears can break a man's spine. Grizzly bears can't break another grizzly bear's spine. It's very uncommon.
Is there any area in the country that's devoid of all sightings?
Oh God.
Because I'm moving there if it is.
No, actually, well, Hawaii. Hawaii's the only state that we have not gotten sightings in. I mean, literally, we have not. We have a chapter there in Hawaii, believe it or not. But
Joedy,
that's the only place.
But isn't that a good argument that they're not paranormal? They're not supernatural? Because if they were supernatural and paranormal, the distance between, California and Hawaii would be no big deal to get to.
Exactly. And we do argue that. But there is still a paranormal aspect to Dogman. You still have that regardless. Okay.
Well, I realize there's evidence of it being paranormal.
Exactly.
But an argument against it would be the fact there's no sightings in Hawaii.
There's no sightings in Hawaii. But here we we had a group of individuals in Africa that does Dogman research, and actually became a chapter for us because they are seeing these things in Africa. They said, listen, we know what every single animal looks like. We have two particular animals. We have no idea what they are. One is your typical Western style werewolf. And then we have another one that's like a man. It looks like a gorilla, but it's a man. Okay, so they know there's two different species of animals. They know what a gorilla looks like. Okay, and this thing's not a gorilla. In South Africa, is one of the chapters there, is they have an area called Giant Castle Pass, and they actually have art on the walls in the caves of these hairy giants that live there, and they call them Bojesmen, which means Bushmen. So they know these are different from gorillas, which they don't have in South Africa. But everybody in South Africa knows what a gorilla looks like, you know, because it's all on the same continent. But they said this thing is completely different because it walks like a man. You know, gorillas don't walk like a man. This thing is, you know, 2 times bigger than a gorilla. So they see this thing. So when you go a little bit northern on the continent of Africa, then they start seeing this other species, which they call the walking wolf. They know what a wolf looks like, so that's what they describe it as, a werewolf. I mean, you never had that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
We even had 5 years ago. You had never had this. Now you have all these sightings in places like India, which we have a chapter there because now they're seeing it in India. Okay. And what's odd about that, they're seeing it along the Indian-Chinese border where they're having conflicts. So they're saying what this thing is doing, it's coming down from the mountains, and they're eating off the dead when the Chinese and the Indians have their conflicts. You know, so they're able to smell
scavenging.
The blood. Yeah, they're scavenger. You know, and they say they're wolves that walk on 2 legs, and they're 10 foot tall.
I wonder when. Yeah, the last one I saw over there was in London. Yeah. That was a movie, but.
Have these things ever been seen eating berries and, vegetables, or is it always meat?
Well, the in the cornfields, they notice that, corn has been eaten, so they're thinking maybe they'll eat on corn. But you have to understand, if it's a canines eat anything, you know that. Mm-hmm. Everybody has dogs. We can sit there and feed our dog anything, and the dog will eat it. Okay, so dogs will eat vegetables. My dog eats broccoli. He's a German Shepherd. He'll eat broccoli. He'll eat corn. He'll eat a tomato. If I'm eating it, he's going to eat it. So it's not uncommon for canines to sit there and eat vegetables because it's a food source. They like the protein that's in meat, but they have to keep their calorie intake.
I realize that, Joedy. You're giving me reasons
to keep themselves.
But has anybody seen them? Has anybody seen them eating these things?
What's that?
Has anybody seen a dogman eating vegetables, eating berries, feeding at a blueberry bush?
Not that I know of. I don't think we have had any sighting where it's been eating anything other than, roadkill or meat. But like I said, it has to maintain its calorie intake in order to sustain a diet and to keep itself going. So yeah, it's going to eat grass. That we had one report there where someone saw it eat grass. So, dogs eat grass because they makes them sick, so they can throw up to get out whatever they have in their system. Maybe what this thing was doing when it was eating grass, but as far as like berries and, anything like that, no, we've had anything like that. That's interesting. That's something definitely to look forward to.
It's very interesting. I mean, what a mysterious creature.
And
no doubt, I have no doubt, Joedy, that they exist only because, look, what do people have to gain by reporting the Dogman? They have zero to gain and everything to lose.
Let me tell you this real quick. We have a park that's on the other side of the street that I live on, behind my house, and they built this beautiful park, put a little playground in there. It's got a mile walking circle in there, but it still has a part of the backwoods there. They have trails in there where you can walk. Well, two people were walking in the woods back there, and they saw this, what they described as a large dog walking on two legs going across the road, but it was like walking really fast on two legs. Okay, very tall. They said it was like a wolf. Didn't pay any attention to them, just went right across the road in front of them, like it was tracking something. So they told their friend that worked for the Historical Society here in the community, which I knew, and she contacted me and said, look, and my friends just had this sighting over at the park. Okay, and what's kind of unique about it, that we have this fountain that sits on my street, this water fountain that has werewolf heads. It has a Native American standing on top with a bow, and on each side it has a werewolf's head that goes around. And it's kind of it kind of looks more like your typical Lon Chaney werewolf. It's really odd, but this thing has been there since the 1930s. Okay, so I went over there, talked to the people. They showed me where the sighting was. I found beautiful tracks, made copies of the tracks, and then a couple of days later, we have a large police presence in the area. I'm telling you, I don't see police anywhere where I live unless there was an accident, you call them. And then for about a week, we had a lot of police in the area. So I have a 150-pound German Shepherd male, 5 years old. Okay, my dog's not afraid of anything. So when my wife leaves in the morning at 5 o'clock, I take him out for a walk. For 4 days, he would not leave the yard. He kept looking down the road, and there was something he was seeing, and I literally would try and pull him, and he would end up urinating in the front yard because he didn't want to go leave the yard. So on about the fourth day, I'm trying to get him down. Finally, I got him down to the sidewalk, and he still wouldn't leave. So I'm looking down the street. He's looking down the same street. There's a big tree that sits down there, and there's a light there, and there's something sitting next to this tree. This car's going past me, slows down, and then just speeds up. I mean, just literally sped up when it got to that area. So I end up getting the dog in. So I get in my car and I drive down to see what was down there. Didn't see nothing. I come back. I'm back in my house. I lay down for a little bit. I got up, got cleaned up. I was getting ready to go to an appointment, and there's a canine handprint on the side of my car by my window. And I have a picture of it. Yeah, so I'm thinking that this thing, when I was there doing the investigation, picked up my scent and it followed me home. And this
followed you home to pay a visit.
Yeah, and that's not unusual. We've had a lot of people that have seen these things, and a few days later, it's showing up at their house.
Joedy, we're just about out of time here. Why don't you tell the audience where they can find all your information, how they can get a hold of you if they have a report, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they can go to www.NorthAmericanDogmanProject.com. You can look for the North American Dogman Project on Facebook. You can look for me on Facebook. You can contact us through there, through Messenger, or through email. If you have any sightings, reports, anything, please contact us.
Very, very good. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Doug and Joel. We're signing off, and take care of each other, love each other, and stay away from that darn dog man. He seems to be all for you.
Yep.
10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.